LSU opens fall camp. I was there. I'll tell you everything you need to know from day one of LSU practice. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Glad to have you aboard with us here. Our show every day is free. We thank you for making us your first listen. We are available wherever you get great podcasts. So please subscribe and watch us on YouTube. Smash that like button and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we go live. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, although we do love Game Time. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sport stops sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started. Okay, y'all. LSU opened up fall practice, fall camp. I was there. Media got about 2 hours of availability on Thursday. And then we spoke to Brian Kelly afterwards. There's a couple of big takeaways that I want to dive deep into. Secondary, namely PJ Woodland. The running backs, in particular, John Emery and Josh Williams and how they're used. We're going to get to that here on today's episode. Let me kind of break down my big takeaways. Let me pull back, do the 10,000-foot flyover of how the day went and tell you everything I saw that was noteworthy, okay? So practice was scheduled, the media availability for 9:45 a.m. Central. Team started indoors. We did not get to watch them indoors. When they came outdoors around 10, a little after 10, is when we got to watch. We got about an hour and a half. Let's put it that way. And in that hour and a half, we saw a lot. We saw 11-on-11, and we saw 2 7-on-7 team periods. So we got to see a lot day one. Couple of big picture takeaways first before I get into some of the minutia. Personnel. Let's start there. Javen Toviano had been arrested for his video voyeurism charges, was at practice, was not participating, but he was there dressed. Brian Kelly afterwards said Toviano has been reinstated by the university, but the legal process continues to play itself out. 2 players that suffered season-ending torn ACLs last year, Zy Alexander, John Emery. Both were dressed, and as Brian Kelly said, fully available. Now, Zy Alexander was dressed, but did not participate. John Emery was dressed and participated fully, but Brian Kelly was clear. Both are 100% cleared. With Zy Alexander, it's just a matter of he's got to feel comfortable planting and running and cutting and all that stuff and feeling it for the first time. Throughout the course of the day, in the 11-on-11 session, Shelton Sampson was the biggest playmaker. He made 2 leaping sideline contested grabs in coverage. The second one, however, when he came down, Brian Kelly told us he had his head on the ground, came up, was a bit woozy. They decided to hold him out the rest of practice. Brian Kelly said they don't anticipate it being anything, and they think he'll be out there on Friday. We'll let you know. Braden Swinson, also there at the start, did not finish practice. We did not get an update on Braden Swinson. He was replaced by Deshaun Womack. I want to go into some of what we saw. And actually, I charted every play of both 7-on-7 periods. And this may not be easy to follow, but I want to tell you exactly what happened in the 7-on-7s. And I'll do that coming up in our next segment. But my single biggest takeaway from day one, the LSU defense made plays. It may seem insignificant. I get it. It was day one. They weren't in full pads. All of that, I get it. But if you listen to this show, told you earlier in this week, something I may never forget is being at the first practice before the 2023 season of fall camp. And I watched LSU run cornerback wide receiver drills, and I charted every rep. And if I still had that notebook, I'd tell you exactly how it went. But if I charted 20 reps, I think the offense won 18 of them. And maybe one of the ones they didn't win was a drop. It was when Shelton Sampson dusted Deuce Chestnut, but dropped the ball. Had him beat by 6 yards, dropped the ball. And it was so overwhelming on day one, you couldn't help but notice. Now, look, LSU's offense ended up being awesome. But it was also indicative of how bad that defense was. And day one of this practice was a fair fight. It was a fair fight. The LSU defense pulled down 4 interceptions. Harold Perkins had a pick on the sideline. Kylan Jackson had a deep pick. Ashton Stamps picked off Garrett Nussmeier on a deep ball near the pylon intended for Mason Taylor. PJ Woodland had an interception. And by the way, the other freshman, Bernard Causey, dropped an interception. So it would have been 5 on the day, but 4 interceptions. In 11-on-11, Paris Shand deflected a ball at the line of scrimmage. Sage Ryan on a screen pass read it beautifully at a TFL. J.K. Johnson, gorgeous defensive play along the sideline, forcing an incompletion. The bottom line is the LSU defense made their fair share of plays. And you may say, no Jaden Daniels, no Brian Thomas, no Malik Neighbors. You're not wrong. All those guys are gone. But that LSU offense made its fair share of plays as well. Tradez Green had a beautiful catch and run touchdown. More on him in a second. Another freshman, Kylan Billiot, dusted 2 defensive backs in double coverage, caught a deep ball touchdown. Very few balls hit the ground at all. So the offense had their day, but the defense won their share of reps. And that is a very encouraging thing moving through this fall camp on day one. Let me run through how they lined up defensively. We all know what the offense is, right? Everybody knows. The first team offense, by the way, if you're curious, the receivers were Kyron Lacey, Chris Hilton, and CJ Daniels. Those were your first receivers. The second receivers were Shelton Sampson, Kyle Parker, Xavion Thomas, and Aaron Anderson. They all rotated freely. That was everything else. We know what it is. Defensively, your first team. At defensive tackle, Jacobian Guillory, Gio Paez, the Wisconsin transfer. At ends, it was Savion Jones and then Deshaun Womack replacing Braden Swinson. Linebacker, we know, Harold Perkins, Greg Penn. Cornerback, this was interesting. Sage Ryan, who spent the entire spring at safety, and Brian Kelly said afterwards, they're going to cross-train him. That was by design. Let him get all his reps at safety. They played him at corner today, the first team. Ryan and Stamps were your 2 corners. Major Burns was your star. And your safeties were Jordan Allen and Jordan Gilbert. Your second team defense at defensive tackle, you had Sean Washington, Kimo Macanaioli. Your ends were Paris Shand and Gabe Relaford, the true freshman who continues to impress. Your cornerbacks were J.K. Johnson and P.J. Woodland. The star was Juwan Johnson, who really looks fit for that role. And then your second team safeties were Kylan Jackson and Deshaun Spears, formerly Deshaun McBride. That was your first 2 defenses. Y'all, I thought for day one, it was pretty sharp and impressive. I could run through a lot, and I would like to take a break and come back and run through exactly the play-by-play of the 7-on-7s. And I understand fully, y'all, this may not play great. Like just me running through my notes of a 7-on-7. But when I run through it, you may not memorize every play, but I think what will resonate is how many plays the defense won. I'm going to get to that as we continue here. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts. Your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I want to run through the play-by-play of the 7-on-7. And I'll grant you, this may be a bad idea. But I want to tell you exactly what happened, because I think this is going to illustrate how many plays the defense made against a very good offense. So the first 7-on-7 drill, it started off really good. Garrett Nussmeier completed a pass to C.J. Daniels, number 4. Second play, Nussmeier on the left sideline threw a beautiful ball to Mason Taylor, just forced out of bounds, made a great catch. A.J. Swan went in, threw a deep ball to Kyle Parker, which he completed over the starting safety, Jordan Allen. They went over the middle to Xavion Thomas for a completion. Then Ricky Collins went in, threw a short pass, which was completed to Landon Ibieta. Then they threw a completed screen to John Emery. The offense was rolling at this point. And I'm sitting here going, this is just more of the same. The defense can't get a stop against this offense. And then we saw the freshman quarterback go in for his reps. And I think the world of Colin Hurley, and I think he's going to be a really good player. But remember, Colin Hurley is a young guy that should be entering his senior year of high school. And Colin Hurley went out there against college defenders, and on his first pass, he completed it. It was a completed pass on the short right side to Javen Nicholas, and the next 2 balls were intercepted. Harold Perkins intercepted him, and then one play later, he was intercepted by Kylan Jackson. And they kept running him out there, even though every other quarterback only had 2 reps, because he went back-to-back picks. They wanted him to finish on a big one, and boy, did he. Because the next play was a middle release that was caught, defenders were split, and was taken to the house, some 60 yards. And I looked at my roster, and I said, the hell is 14? Trey'Dez Green, the freshman tight end from Zachary. It was his first catch of fall camp. He was targeted 4 times on the day, caught all 4. I'm going to get to more on Trey'Dez Green in a minute. But after that sequence, the ones went back in. And we saw Garrett Nussmeier throw a completed pass to Giovanni. I always forget his name, number 45. Giovanni Peterson, forgive me. And after that 1 rep, they went back to A.J. Swan. Completed over the middle to Kyle Parker. Then another pass completed over the middle to Kyron Lacey, and the offense was rolling again. A.J. Swan was still in there. Threw a screen pass to Caleb Jackson, which was complete. Ricky Collins went in. Screen pass to Josh Williams, which was complete. Ricky Collins, beautiful pass to Aaron Anderson in a tight window. Beautiful pass, better catch. Maybe the other way around, but it was really impressive. And the offense was having their upper hand. And then Ricky Collins threw a ball down the left sideline that was dropped by Bernard Causey, which should have been an interception. Then they went over the middle to C.J. Daniels, and an incomplete pass over the middle from Colin Hurley to the freshman wide receiver, Kylan Billiot. The point is, the defense, while they didn't wow, they got stops. They came away with 2 interceptions, should have had a third. They came up with a couple of other pass breakups. But only when they went to the next 7-on-7 period did you really look and say, man, this defense is making plays even against the number one offense. Garrett Nussmeier ran 6 reps. Here were those 6 plays in the next 7-on-7. A completion to Kyron Lacey on the left side for 8 yards. A deep ball to Mason Taylor that was intercepted around the goal line by Ashton Stamps. Nussmeier threw a completed ball to Kamarian Pimpton on the right side. He threw a middle screen to Aaron Anderson, where Anderson had a beautiful play where he split the linebackers and got upfield. And then he threw a ball down the deep right sideline where J.K. Johnson pinned Kyle Parker on the sideline and made a beautiful play to force the incompletion. And then Garrett Nussmeier over the middle, intended for Kamarian Pimpton, threw a high ball and it was incomplete. So in those 6 plays, there was an interception, a coverage forced incompletion, and a high throw by Nussmeier. He was 3 for 3 on that series of 6 plays with an interception. So the defense made plays against the ones. Ricky Collins goes in. And then we saw that man again. Trades Green on the first play, right sideline, deep ball, double coverage. Trades Green high points the ball and comes down with the catch. It was unbelievable to see. 6'7", body control, soft hands. He's a great basketball player, so he has that body control in the air, soft hands. He was amazing. Second play, after that beautiful pass, they went to the left sideline, and Ricky Collins underthrew his intended receiver, Jelani Watkins, and it was intercepted by P.J. Woodland. They threw a screen to Landon Ibieta, and then on the fourth play, they threw a short pass to Caden Durham, which was dropped. So Ricky Collins in the 2s, 4 plays, beautiful catch by Trades Green, interception, screen pass, and a drop. He was 2 for 2 with a pick. It truly was a 50-50 proposition for the defense. The offense made great plays. So did the defense. Nuss went back in for 2 plays. Beautiful ball on the right sideline. Kyron Lacey high points the ball and makes the catch over freshman cornerback Michael Turner. At which point, Corey Raymond started berating Michael Turner. Welcome to college football. Get in the weight room. Get stronger. Oh, more on Corey Raymond in a second because he was relentless with the way he pressured his defensive backs. And then on the second play, beautiful coverage by Sage Ryan. A screen to John Emery went down for a TFL. The 2s went in. This time it was A.J. Swan. Incomplete on the right side to Xavion Thomas. Completed a short screen, a tight end screen to Trades Green, and then a running back screen to Josh Williams, Sage Ryan with a TFL. They completed the 4th play on a shallow cross to CJ Daniels. So AJ Swan in the 2s, incomplete, tight end screen to Trades Green, completed to Josh Williams, but a TFL by Sage Ryan, and then a shallow cross by CJ Daniels. Again, 3 for 4, but one of those completions was a TFL. Then we saw Colin Hurley go in, completed his first pass to Trades Green. Pass breakup by P.J. Woodland on Xavion Thomas deep. And then 1 play later, Colin Hurley threw a deep touchdown to Kylan Billiot over P.J. Woodland. My point is, and I know I don't expect you to remember every one of those plays. That's not even the point, y'all. The point is, 1 year ago on this day, the first day of fall camp, if I was charting for you the plays, LSU's offense embarrassed LSU's defense. And on the first day of fall camp, the defense held their own. I'm not telling you they were great. They gave up big plays and a lot of stuff like that. But they won plenty enough to be respectable and to say, you know what? I think they might be better. And I'm going to tell you something. Corey Raymond in every one of those 7-on-7s was standing at the goal line behind his defense, looking at his secondary, and it was a relentless verbal assault on his secondary. And I'm not talking about in a mean way. I'm talking about in an I'm holding you accountable way. Understand we have a higher standard way. Understand you're not coming off the field for a rep because you're tired way. Oh, Corey Raymond is going to demand more from this secondary. And just watching that and them respond and not cower to that offense made me think they may not be great, y'all. You may not have a defensive all SEC or all American players, but they're going to be one hell of a lot better than they were a year ago. And that may be what sets up this team to have a pretty special fall. It's a long way to go. It was just one day, and I'm not overreacting, but it's hard not to be impressed by what you saw from LSU's defense day one out at fall camp. Okay, two more things I want to talk about, and I want to let you hear from Brian Kelly, who talked about the running backs, about Trey'Dez Green, and about P.J. Woodland. We're going to do that to wrap up this episode of Locked on LSU next. Y'all, I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But we get into the summer months, the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, the sports aren't sporting like we want them to, but FanDuel lets you and me keep the sports going whenever we want, and all we have to do is open up the FanDuel app and dream up bets anytime we're in the mood. All summer long, FanDuel hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. I'm looking at the FanDuel app right now, fired up for this weekend. Man, if you want to start wagering, you can do it right now. They get the new customer, bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Take advantage of these boosts and these bonuses every day. There's a 30% profit boost on the Olympic Games. You got to take advantage of these while they're there. There's no reason not to. USA versus the world. There's great MLB boosts and bonuses as well. Find them all at the FanDuel app. So head over to FanDuel.com, and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, so glad to have you aboard with us here, and thanks so much for making us your first listen every single day, and we always encourage you. You make us your first listen every day. Make your second listen Locked On College Football. My buddy Spencer McLaughlin, who I had a chance to meet over at SEC Football Media Days, been a guest on his show a couple times. We got to meet him in person. It was awesome. You ready for this exciting season on the gridiron with conference realignment and expanded playoff and all that good stuff? You got to be locked in to Locked On College Football. Available on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Okay, Brian Kelly, after the first practice, met with reporters, and there's three things I want you to hear from BK. First and foremost, the running backs. Now, we've talked about this a ton. LSU's losing 74% of its rushing offense from a year ago. John Emery was out there and a full go. Interesting that Josh Williams, a sixth-year player as well, not coming off an injury, wasn't quite tested as much day one. BK, explain why.
Yeah, so, talking to Frank, we wanted to do two things. One, we wanted to put John in a position where the reps mattered, and mattered in the sense of he had to cut. He had to be stressed. He's cleared. So we wanted every rep that he got to be, maybe this is a bad analogy, but a high leverage rep, if you will. We didn't want him out there, just blocking or, taking a rep that didn't force him to put his foot in the ground and accelerate. Whereas on the other hand, we wanted Josh Williams to have some low leverage reps because we know what we're going to get from that young man. So they're really on a different kind of trajectory in terms of going through camp. Josh, we're going to be very careful with. We're going to get him to Saturdays because we know what we're going to get there. Emery, we want to really stress him in a sense of making sure he feels great with that knee, because if he feels great, he's fearless and he's going to go. So that will be kind of the plan with both those guys going through camp. And then, let the two younger players and Durham and Jackson, let those guys go after it and pick up the rest of the reps.
You sure would have thought that the guy coming off the torn ACL is the guy they would take it easy on in fall camp. Not the case at all. Whichever way it works out, whoever ends up being your leading rusher is going to shoulder a bigger workload than they ever have in their college career. John Emery's never had more than 76 rushing attempts in a season. Josh Williams has never had more than 100. 97 was the most rushing attempts he's ever had in a season. He had just 55 a season ago. So whichever guy ends up being your bell cow is going to be doing it for the first time. Now, two freshmen that Brian Kelly was asked about and highlighted, one on the offensive side, one on the defensive side. I want to start with PJ Woodland, the freshman out of Mississippi who took reps with the ones in the spring, was back out there rotating, taking reps with the ones as well in fall camp. Now, Sage Ryan and Ashton Stamps were your ones to start, but PJ Woodland was rotating in as well, and he had some really good plays. But Brian Kelly was asked about it and said, hey, pump the brakes a bit.
I think we're at a point in day one where, it's truly about the consistency of performance. And we like PJ, and we love his competitiveness. But if you remember, he made a great play, and then the next play, we threw the ball over his head, if you remember that. With young players, we're looking for consistency. And he has got a huge upside. And he's going to be a really good player in the SEC. But in the SEC, you make one play, they're coming right back at you. And they're going to test you. So we've got to test the mettle of our young players, and we've got to see consistency of performance. And it'll be about his consistency or Ashton Stamps' consistency or Sage or whoever we roll out there. And that's kind of what we'll be looking for with a lot of our younger players. It'll be Trey'Dez Green, too. Like, will Trey'Dez come back and be able to double down on another really good performance? And so across the board, especially with the younger players, can they be a Will Campbell, right? Who every day when he was a freshman, you knew what you were going to get. He was going to bite down on his mouth guard, and he was going to give you a consistent performance every day.
I want to remind you, the final two plays of 7-on-7, and we just went through them as we charted them. The final two plays of the day in 7-on-7. PJ Woodland came up with a beautiful pass breakup against Xavion Thomas on a deep ball thrown by Colin Hurley. The next play, Colin Hurley threw a deep ball over PJ Woodland's head for a deep touchdown to Kylan Billiot, where Billiot, the freshman, number 82, the speedster, burned PJ Woodland. It wasn't close. A great play, a bad play consecutively. How do you develop consistency? Well, BK also talked about Trey'Dez Green. Raved about him here. I don't know how you keep him off the field, but here was BK about the freshman tight end after one day.
Well, he certainly looks the part, right? I mean, controls his body really well, has a great deal of confidence. He doesn't look out of place in any shape or form from a physical standpoint, but he's picked things up very well for a guy that has not played this game very long. It's coming to him, I don't want to say easy, but it has not been a very difficult transition for him. And that all bodes well for players that are in their first year. I don't want to stand here today on day one and, say, hey, he's going to play in the first year. But my experience has told me that guys that transition quickly with his kind of physical attributes, they tend to show real quick, and he certainly looks the part.
He looked awesome day one. Let's see how they look with pads. Let's see if he starts getting reps against the first team defense, how that looks. But I'm going to say this about Trey'Dez Green. I don't know that there's enough reps to go around for him to be a 40 catch guy as a freshman. When you've got Kyron Lacey and Chris Hilton and Shelton Sampson and CJ Daniels and Xavion Thomas and Aaron Anderson and Mason Taylor and Josh Williams and John Emery and I just don't know, Kamorian Pimpton and Mac Markway. I don't know where the reps are to think he's going to get 40 catches. But with that skill set, he is too dynamic to not have a role, some role, red zone, whatever it may be, third down. he'll have a role on this team because he's got to have a role on this team. He's too good not to. Y'all, it was just day one, but boy, there was a lot of meat on the bone. That's what happens when the coach lets you watch 2 hours of practice. On Friday, the Tigers will be back at it. The media only gets about 15 minutes of practice. No availability on Saturday. They'll take the day off on Sunday, and then Monday, media back out there for the full practice. So I'm excited to bring you all of this information in fall camp. It's the perfect time to subscribe. Thank you for being there with us here on Locked On LSU. If you're new and you're not subscribed on your favorite podcast app, please do it. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, smash the like button, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And, of course, tell a friend if they love the Tigers. There is no better time than now to subscribe to Locked On LSU, your team every day.